Hey, this is Josh Thompson. Thanks again for listening. If this content is encouraging to you, it would mean the world to us if you would rate the podcast. Your rating will help more people find the show. You can also journey with us by subscribing to our channel. And if you share it on social media, please feel free to tag me and our guests. We appreciate when you share this podcast with those you know. We are believing it will continue to stoke the fire in people again. Special thank you to Landmark Coffee Roasters, a sponsor for this podcast. If you haven't tasted their coffee, you got to go check it out. They got the best beans in Southern California. Go to landmarkroasters.com. Type in promo code STOKEHOUSE to get 20% off. That's landmarkroasters.com. Special thank you to Ola Canvas, a sponsor for this podcast. They build super durable, high-quality clothing out of Costa Mesa, California. Ola Canvas is a small business of creators making some of my favorite clothing and products on the planet because they take time to build each piece and make it with high-quality material. Check them out at olacanvas.com. That's O-L-A canvas.com. Welcome to the Stokehouse. Time to get fired up. Yee! Ladies and gentlemen, Kara Britz in the Stokehouse. Kara, you are a professional vocalist for some of the biggest artists and bands in the world. No joke. You have been on tour with Blake Shelton for 9 years now. Is that right?
Yep, 9 years.
And you are on TV every week on NBC's hit show, The Voice. You sang in the house band for 22 seasons.
26 now.
26 seasons.
Yeah, 26.
I stand corrected. That is amazing. You probably sang with more famous artists and bands than I could ever count because of your unique position. 26 seasons, that's a lot of singing, a lot of shows, thousands of songs with the most well-known artists in the world, including some of your biggest inspirations that I read. Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, Gwen Stefani, Bob Seger, Michael Buble, Sheryl Crow, Christina Aguilera, Pharrell Williams, Adam Levine, CeeLo Green, Shakira, your all-time Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson, my girl.
Shout out. You've done the Grammys, the Oscars, CMA Fest, Grand Ole Opry, Academy of Country Music Awards, the Houston Rodeo. You co-sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Is this right?
Yeah, I got to sing behind Mickey Guyton for the
Unbelievable.
Super Bowl. Coolest day ever.
You name it, Kara has probably done it. It was written about you that you are the voice behind the voice. As a voice behind the voice, Kara Britt's vocals can be only used to bring stardom to others on NBC's Smash It reality TV show. So cool. I love that.
That's really nice.
You know, God has truly blessed you. A lot of people don't know this, but you are known as a singer, but you actually, by the age of 11, were playing drums and singing in a band that was sponsored by Harley Davidson. Is this right?
Yep, that's how I got my humble beginnings in biker bars.
Do you still play drums?
I do. Yeah, my fiance just got me a kit.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
We're
We
going
got
to
to
try
hear some.
kick the dust off.
Kara, what I love about you most is you stepped into legacy years ago. You didn't tell anybody how big of a rock star you were. You just served faithfully on the worship team, loving the Lord, loving the church. Though you were on tour all of that time, you just loved and served the people. You love and serve the Lord. It's amazing. You have a genuine soul and a kind heart, and everybody can see it. Exciting news, you are engaged to Colin. Shout out to Colin, and you guys will be married soon.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, she's taken. But we are so happy for you guys. It's a blessing to have you in the Stokehouse. Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm humbled.
No, but I love it.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I mean, I was like reflecting on this. I'm like, this is crazy. Like when I was just reading, I like to read through the guests, and try to find as much material as I can. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know of Kara. I know Kara, but just absorb all of that and be like, wow, man, it's like almost so many wild memories that like you almost, how do you categorize all of that? There's just so much awesome stuff that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's been, the whole journey has blown me away, but I think like if I look back on where I am now, there is an arc to it that I've found, and it is very faith-based. But it's kind of cool because when you're in the moment, like you say, it's all happening so fast, and you don't know why you're doing this. Like, why am I going through this phase, or why am I on this gig, or why is this so hard, or why is this person yelling at me, or like, what, why are things just frustrating? And then you look back and you're like, oh, he was preparing me. That was hard so that this one would be easier. So that then in turn, this one wouldn't seem like a challenge, or you felt more confident to say yes to this because you learned those things. And so there is one common arc, and that's just the way that the Lord prepares us and prepares our steps. So looking back on it, it seems easier.
Yeah.
But
in the moment,
it was like, whoa, I'm so green and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just saying yes and then figuring it out. And yeah, so 20 years later, I'm kind of still doing the same thing and new challenges.
Yes. And so we met probably, this is, do you remember how many years ago, Legacy, when you stepped into the church?
Gosh, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It must have been.
This is pre-pandemic, right?
It was pre-pandemic, yeah, because I was singing up there.
So this is probably
I found y'all through Jeff Bowders.
Jeff Bowders.
Yeah.
Shout out Jeff Bowders.
Drummer
Yes.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, good friend of mine, good friend of my brother's.
Yeah.
Kind of in our whole little circle of rock friends.
Yes.
And so he brought me, and then I started singing, and I don't know, I feel like it was like 16, 17,
Wow.
16,
Yeah.
15. I don't, somewhere in that range. It got a little blurry there in the middle,
I
but
think the church was only a couple years old then, around maybe 2-3 years old. And yeah, we're coming up on 10 years. So pretty amazing.
awesome.
And so you come from a family of singers, I should say a family of successful LA people, like you, your brother, and your sister have all like flourished, right?
Yeah,
in your own accord.
My sister actually fell in love with a boy and moved to Chicago, and now they've got 2 kids, and she actually runs my parents' Midwestern office for their company.
Okay.
But my brother is the bass player for the band Bush.
Yes.
And then I'm in Blake's band. So
Yes.
yeah, so it's kind of fun.
But you guys grew up playing and singing, is that right?
Totally. We actually used to sing 5-part harmony, like in churches.
Really?
Mountain churches.
Wait, your family?
The whole family.
Okay. Mom and dad?
Yep. Mom and dad, my brother, my sister, I'm the baby.
Okay.
And we would, we would sing, Gaither gospel music.
Nice. My dad is drooling right now. He loves Gaither music.
Oh
He
my
loves
gosh.
Southern gospel.
Homecoming,
he
Bill and Gloria.
still goes to the shows.
I love it.
My dad will be like, I'm near you. I'm going to a show tonight. Like he's like one of 150 people in the crowd, just hanging, just enjoying those harmonies.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see how it all how it all kind of came together. But my mom was a Christian singer and amazing piano player. Like most of her high school classes, she was in music. She got to have 6 periods of music because she could play piano. And so she just played and sang, and her sister played and sang, and their best friend. And so they would do shows kind of all around the Kansas City area. And then she met my dad. And
does your dad play? Does he sing?
He was in such an interesting faith. When you go to my dad's parents' church, they have a piano. And they always meet in living rooms or basements. It's an organization called Friends.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Amish with cars. They read the King James version, so they read the Bible, but
so very
it's
traditional.
Very traditional. And what the piano player does, it's so interesting to me as a musician now, because I went to my grandma's funeral, and they play the first chord of the hymn. And that's it. And then they break out into perfect harmony.
Wow.
The whole church, bass, tenor, alto, soprano. 4-part harmony. They all know. They know their stuff. The
whole church knows their parts.
The whole church just knows their parts, and they just lock in. And so there's a huge foundation of music within that, even though it's a very strict, everything's by the letter and very traditional type of upbringing.
So you grew up in the church then?
I grew up in the church. I didn't grow up in my dad's parents' church. He left that faith and stayed Christian and just went to a different. My mom was the daughter of a Baptist minister.
Okay.
So they got married in a Baptist church.
Wow.
And it was interesting because it wasn't kosher at the time, between the two families, because they were different faiths, even though they were both Christian. So for me, that's a lot to take, because I'm like, man, if I find somebody Christian, I'm like, okay, yay.
Right.
Okay, this is progress,
Lord.
you know?
Right.
But yeah, so they went through that whole experience kind of together and built their own their own type of faith. And so we bounced around to a lot of different churches, but there was always the King James Version. It was always the Bible, very faith-based parenting, but we weren't super consistent at churches growing up. We bounced around a lot. We just had a hard time finding a church home where we were.
Yeah.
But always faith.
And you grew up in Virginia.
Grew up in Virginia. Yeah.
On a farm, you were just telling me.
Yeah, on a farm. We moved to the farm when I was in middle school. Okay. So my parents found this house. We had to move. I was born in Kansas City, moved to Germany when I was 2.
Wow, what
family. My dad's company had a new client that was over in Germany, and so his boss asked him if he could go and just kind of get that client started and get things moving. And my dad called my mom after a few months and was like, "This was supposed to take a few months, and this is going to take a few years, and I can't do this without you guys."
Wow.
So my mom, close to family, Kansas City, born and raised. She's 30 probably, 31, because she had me at 29. So she's 31.
Okay.
She's got 3 kids and a Doberman.
Wow.
And she packed everything up. And she flew from Kansas City to Frankfurt, Germany. And my dad picked her up. We didn't know the language. We had to live on German soil because it was affiliated with the military, but we didn't have privileges on base. We ended up ultimately having friends that could go on base and buy things that we needed. But we were living in the thick of it, and
so you guys did that for 2 years.
For 2.5, 3 years, yep. And then we moved back to the States, and on my 6th birthday, we pulled into Virginia because we needed to be near D.C. But my parents found this adorable little town called Winchester. It has a gorgeous public high school. And my dad saw it and was like, that's where I want our family to live. And he called my mom and said, "I think I found where we're moving." Bought a house right by the high school. And then in 8th grade is when we had the dream house that came up for sale for them. So yeah.
And you were saying about this house. This is like 1700s house, 1800s house, or something.
Yeah. It was built during the Revolutionary War by General John Smith, who was like the great grandson, I believe, of John Smith from like the Pocahontas story.
Oh, no way!
So crazy.
Wild.
Built during the war. The guest house was built in 1775. And the main house was 1777.
Whoa.
And it just needed so much TLC. And my parents have always just had an eye for that sort of thing, just for design and interior design and just engineering. Like my dad just has that brain. And so mom and him just drafted all these plans and have slowly done it themselves.
Wow.
And they saved that place. It's gorgeous.
And this is your, am I allowed to say it? This is your upcoming.
Yeah, that's my wedding venue.
Yeah, it's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like I'm 38 and I kind of thought like the wedding on the farm had I thought that ship had maybe sailed, just because it took me a little while to get here. But nope.
I think it's so
cool. We're
going
to do it. We're doing it
cool.
anyway.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So, and so you grew up in music and with some Christian foundation and had some wild child and some southern farm wild child stuff going on. And you were trained in piano, is this right?
Yep. Piano was first. That was the non-negotiable. Yep. We all took piano lessons.
You said non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
What do you mean by that?
Mom was like, "So we'll be going to piano lessons."
Okay.
It wasn't like, "Do you want to?" It was.
Did everybody have to learn piano? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
All 3 of us. And you know what's interesting? I always tell people like if their kids are having trouble in math.
Yeah.
Like, go learn music theory. Like put them in piano, put them in drums. Like I learned more about fractions and percentages by looking at a piece of music than I ever did in a classroom because I don't thrive in classrooms.
Yeah.
I'm a little creative. I'm spacey.
Yeah.
I don't do great in that setting. And so I learned so much more from my drum teacher than anybody. Like I started piano and I was very young. But just from all my music teachers was really that was where I started to learn. So yeah.
And every child had to learn this first instrument. This was going to be a foundation. Mm-hmm. Man, I love that.
Yeah. And then when you really didn't like it, then they it wasn't like they were forcing you, but they were like, "We're giving it a couple years."
Got it. Yeah.
That's just kind of what you got to do. Like treat it like kindergarten or whatever. Just it's happening.
Do you remember your first piece?
Oh gosh. probably like Twinkle Twinkle or something.
Tell me, what's maybe the first piece that you like loved? Like you remember playing it?
Yeah, there was one, I think it was called The Mad Horseman. And I felt like virtuoso. I mean, I just was like flying because you got to jump around and like the finger control. And I could probably still play it today. Like I literally can remember the fingering because I practice it so much.
Right.
And it's like that one song that you can sit down and give me 5 minutes and I could probably, clunk through it. And my sister had one too. And so, yeah, mine was like, it was called The Mad Horseman or something. Christina O'Neill. She taught me that one.
Do you remember the piano you guys played on?
Yeah, my mom had a beautiful baby grand that she still has. And I think it's a Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a Baldwin. And then actually, funny enough, my dad ended up representing one of the big Steinway.
Oh yeah,
I think Steinway is one of his clients for like military instrumentation and stuff. So he does military contracts. So I think a couple of things have kind of come along the way that the music ended up working in our favor. Yeah.
The reason I'm so interested, my grandma forced my dad to learn organ.
Okay.
And black keys and everything, and the pulleys and the whole.
So
I mean,
good.
he was just like, he was forced as a child to learn the organ, then he transitioned to grand piano, but it's like his life. Like, I mean, I'd say my dad's best friends are Jesus and, piano, Jesus and music. Like, it's kind of who he is, and that bled into our family. Now, we weren't classically trained, but we had a giant organ in our front living room, so me and my brothers would bang on this thing and break stuff. And
which he loved, I'm sure.
But, the 12-string guitar was sitting around, and all of the old instruments were always sitting around, and we were able to play with them.
Yep.
My dad never forced it on us. I kind of wish he did a little more, but nevertheless, we all took to, we're coffee shop players. We just love banging on instruments, and we all play and sing together. So I want that so badly with my kids. So I'm like always like sifting to try to figure out like what was the process. Like,
what is the process?
Yeah, well, I hope they grab onto it.
Totally. And and I think like the thing that was so cool about my parents is they weren't scared of me wanting to be a drummer. Because it was like, you've got this 4th grader little girl, and she's wild and fun and all these things, but like now she wants to be a drummer and she's really into rock music. It's like, what? That's not really what you picture with a little girl. But my parents like never even made that a weird thing.
Wow.
They're like, okay. And they found this drum teacher, Steve Kastek. He became one of my best friends, and may he rest in peace. And he was a 60-year-old man. I'm 5th grade. And the drum lessons were in his house. And his house smelled like mothballs, and he smoked like a chimney, and he lived by himself. And my mom's like, "What am I doing?" And she, so she sat in the living room for the first few, as a mom would, and then she graduated to the car, and then graduated to dropping me off, and like so we went with the process, and it came to the point where I wanted to spend my weekends at Steve's just shedding drum music, and we just played all weekend long. And
so
he was my best bud. I learned so much about life. I learned about music, about the industry, about how to have faith. He taught me about human delay and how to not let that, mistake your steps or what the path is supposed to look like, and just to have patience. And he was just awesome. He was really, really amazing. And he passed from pneumonia, I think in like 2016. I have his ashes. I mean, like that was my buddy.
Wow. So this is your foundation in drums. You owe it to this man. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, Steve Kastek. He taught me a lot. So yeah, I went to him for forever. And we actually wrote some rudimentary books and stuff where it was like co-authored by the two of us. And we taught drum clinics to a lot of kids in the area. Wow. I did my college audition on stage in front of a crowd.
Whoa.
So that they could see how the audition went.
With drums.
So I was like playing my marimba solos and playing my drums and doing my reading stuff and like everything on stage in front of a crowd. I was like, okay.
Wow.
But he always pushed me, and I think that that's what it takes, because I'm not scared to say yes to stuff, because you land on your feet.
Yeah.
But I think we can kind of underestimate ourselves if we don't get pushed at the right times.
So classically trained in piano, and then Steve stepped in and helped you, and you grew in drums.
Yep.
And where did the vocals come from? Was there training there as well?
Yeah. So my mom was a Christian singer.
Okay.
And everybody could sing. And so I just started singing, and I actually started singing incorrectly. so I was in choirs, but I never really liked choir. I wanted to sing pop music. I wanted to sing, I wanted to be the next Kelly Clarkson, really. It was like one of those things where I wanted to have soul, and I wanted to sing more like gospel sounding stuff, and all the choirs that were available in my community were just very classical kids choirs. And so I wasn't super interested in those. And I started singing incorrectly, and then I developed nodules.
What's incorrectly?
Like yelling and pulling chest instead of supporting it. And so I got nodules, and then they were having a hard time finding somebody that would coach me because I was too young out there. It was just a different time. Now you can find coaches at any age, thanks to social media and all that stuff. But I was having a hard time. So they found somebody in D.C. that was able to coach me, but I would have to drive to his house. So it wasn't until I was 16 that I had like that consistent coaching. But in 8th grade, when I had the nodules, my dad started looking online, and we found the speech level singing, which is actually out here in LA. So my dad flew me out to LA.
Is this a school or a class? Or?
It's like a technique. So Seth Riggs, so he was coaching. He coached Michael Jackson. His roster is unbelievable.
Wow.
But that was the one that caught my attention, because I'm like, okay, this is like a pop singer.
Right.
Like, this man is teaching pop singers. Like,
yeah.
something should be. And his idea is you sing like you speak. And it helped me a lot, because I was actually doing more damage by speaking than by singing, and because I have a low voice, and I was that husky kid, and I would talk down here, and then I would just stay down here forever. Sure. And then it was like, well, you actually need to move around a little bit, kind of like when you sing, so that you can sing like you talk and talk like you sing. And so anyway, he kind of worked that out for me, and I came out here, did a lesson, and my dad actually had ulterior motives. He brought me out here to do that, to see if I could swim in this kind of world. So he wanted to hear what Seth had to say about my voice, and he was kind of like, hey.
Right. He's dad watching over his daughter.
Am I sending this kid out here at 18? Am I crazy? Like, and that's that. And Seth was like, I think she's fantastic. And if she isn't working in that side, I think she'd also be a fantastic coach. Like, there's opportunity, we could help her if that was something that needed to happen. And so that was kind of good. So it all kind of came hand in hand. So I got those nodules. I thought my life was over, and really it was just beginning, and it was just sort of like another opportunity to find somebody else that, could kind of sign off on this crazy idea, maybe being a singer as a career rather than a hobby,
So was music life? I mean, it was like junior high school, like you're just like, it's just music's your whole world.
Yeah. Music was everything.
You're playing in bands, right?
Playing in bands. I was a drummer in a band with a bunch of guys. I think the youngest was 40.
Yeah.
And the oldest was 65. And it was so funny. So my dad had met this guy. His name was Lucky. He had a band called Lucky and Almost Country. And my dad met him at a party somewhere, and the guy was he said, I really need a drummer. And my dad said, well, my daughter, she's going to be a freshman, and she's a drummer. And he thought he meant freshman in college. And so Lucky was like, yeah, she should come and audition. Like, that'd be great. And my dad's like, she can sing, she can drum, like, she'd be great for this, My dad's nuts. You'll love him. He's the best. But anyway, I show up, and I'm like, I needed my dad to drive me, because I'm 15. I'm not, I'm not going into college.
Right.
Anyway, he freaked out, and then we did the audition, and then he was like, oh my gosh, she's so good. Like, yes. And so I ended up playing with them for years, and we played bikers bars.
Wow.
And it was crazy. My granddad, my dad's dad, I thought, oh my gosh, like, I had a gig when he was in town one week, and I said, Grandpa, I'm playing at that bar downtown, and it's smoky, and it's Virginia, like 1997 or 6, or it was early. Lots of smoke in the bars still. And my grandpa came, and he sat in the back of that bar and watched the whole gig, and he was just proud,
Awesome.
So it was just cool. It was kind of cool to see that my dad came from really good people, even though it was a really strict religion, and there was a lot of like premonition of like, or just a lot of prejudgment, I guess, on our behalf of like what that must have looked like. But for me, it was a really cool full circle moment to look back. I can still remember like him and his smile, like I can see the image, But yeah, I played in biker bars and lots of different festivals.
I mean, what a colorful opportunity as a young person. I mean, you're playing with like old rockers who have been jamming like forever, and
Yeah.
they got licks that like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's training. It's a high level. It's almost like a master's degree in real rock.
Yeah. Well,
Like
and
real country, real blues, I can just
Southern rock.
You haven't even explained it, but it's like I can almost feel it, just like
exactly
what's
what it
happening with those guys. And you're just, here you are, like as a 15-year-old, just like soaking in all of this.
Yeah.
So that, that's all behind Care Britz, and like
Yeah.
it's, wow, what a foundation.
And I think what's so interesting is, I've always like prided myself in being a little rough around the edges. I'm just like a little bit of a
Sure.
rough around the edges Christian. I'm in the trenches.
Sure.
I'm in there.
Yeah.
I see some stuff and I hear some stories and my heart breaks, and I've sat next to people that were just really going through stuff. And I feel so lucky with the childhood that I had. And my parents were always close by, and they always kept an eye on me so that I never stepped out of line or started going down the wrong path, and we had a really good relationship. My parents felt like friends, but like friends that were in charge, but they were still, they were friends of mine. And you're at the bar and it's midnight and it's last call and you're singing Knocking on Heaven's Door, and it's just kind of like, there's something to that. And that, if there's a bridge or just a gateway for people to not feel like they would be judged.
Totally.
If they wanted to maybe hear me sing on Sunday rather than on Friday night, and it's just like, it's going to be the same thing.
Yes.
And you're welcome just as much in either place, And so I think that was always something that I found like really powerful about it, because you can look for the good messages in a lot of that music that was real mainstream.
Well, sounds like Jesus to me. Jesus, friend of sinners, the friend of sinners. And they even associated him with those people and said he's this and this and this because he hangs out with them all the time. But we need, we need people like you to be impacting the world. I mean, if we locked all of this in the church and we don't let anybody out, we're just like, no, just staying in the church. You're never going to go. It's like, we kind of need people to stay in and infiltrate on all levels, and really love and serve people in the name of Jesus and watch what God might do. Because those people may never step into a church, but they might now, simply because they met somebody like you and like, wait a minute, why are you so kind? Why are you so generous? Why are you so gracious? Wow, you're so sweet,
Yep.
Well, I love the Lord, and I have a God. And if you ever want to come to church, it's like, you're always welcome. You come check it out if you want to. And it's like, we need more of that in this world. I think we would impact so much more. So often we keep some of the most mature, some of the most, some of the most, I don't know what you call them, the super Christians, they're all like locked inside, and it's like, maybe you should start going out into the world and ministering and loving and serving people out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's more exciting for me to be there with somebody when you're praying with them for maybe the first time, or maybe the first time that they really heard it, and like that to me is just like way better. Like sometimes I come to church and I can't believe how late people are. And I'm like, oh, how are you going to get the message?
Right.
Or now you're talking or you're texting or it's like, are you just here to be here? Like, how are you going to get the message? And sometimes I feel like at concerts, people are at attention. I mean, they're so excited to watch that music.
Right.
Their phones are up the whole time. It's almost annoying, but in a way, it's like, it means a lot to them. Music got them through some really heavy stuff. And sometimes just that connection of the two could just be enough to get somebody to open their Bible. Because, like something that my dad has always preached to me, but I've probably only listened in the last few years, if I'm being honest, is just like, if you need like a guide for your life, it's not these self-help books and all these things. He said, it's the New Testament.
That's right.
He's like, if you just read through that, it's just crazy. You'll find everything that you need in there, And I was telling him about a sermon that you preached recently on the phone yesterday. And it was so funny because I was reading in my New Living Translation on my phone because I was in the car and I was trying to explain what you were saying. And Dad was like, jogging his memory, but he has this amazing memory. I think it's a photographic memory, but he memorized the King James version of all this. And so I was trying to tell him, and I kept saying it was in Ephesians, and I was wrong because you had talked about Ephesians earlier, and then it was from Exodus. And so I just had said the wrong word. And he was like, I can't figure out what you're talking about, babe. He said, you said frogs. And I said, I know, I said frogs. I'm getting it wrong, but I'm trying to find it. And then he goes, oh, Exodus. And then he starts saying it in the King James version.
Whoa.
And I'm reading through it and I'm finding it in the New Living Translation. I'm like, man, this is crazy. But he's just a wise person, you know, but like, he's just, it was just really funny to watch like the way his brain works and just how much he had studied and how much he really knows. And I think that that's something that you don't really value until you get a little older and realize just how crazy the world is, because we have it all figured out at 16, you know, like I knew exactly what I was doing. Well beyond my years and all that. But and then I made all kinds of mistakes in my 20s, and then here I am, you know, crawling back. But
it's got to be pretty cool for your dad and your mom. You know, the Bible speaks of children as arrows, you know, and launching them into the world. And, you know, it's a wild thing to do, to send your kids off into the world, and you're just like, oh no. But you know, you want to keep your kids safe, and you want to keep them locked in. You don't want anything bad to happen, of course, right? At the same time, we desire that our kids would be a force to be reckoned with spiritually, that they would impact the world greatly and do great things for the kingdom of God. And so I'm sure your dad, you know, steps back now and is just like, you know, wow, like really incredible. Because if you're wild or rough around the edges as a daughter, he's like, you know, he's got some real traditional foundation, plus like really wants you to like explore and go and kind of seeing it all come together, you know, finally, you know what I mean? Like the world's aligning, and it's like she's had so much success in the world. She's impacted so many people's lives, and she's still walking with Jesus, praise God, you know? And she's telling me about scripture now, you know, and trying to encourage me. I mean, that's like, I don't know, it's a dream for me, you know, as a dad. I hope, you know.
No, it's cool because our conversations, because he's just recently started to preach at their church in Virginia. And he's been a salesman his whole life, and he's just such an eloquent speaker. His dad had a really bad stutter. And so my dad learned to speak very eloquently so he could speak for his dad and speak for what his dad wanted to say, not in place of his dad, but to step up and identify what he wanted to say and say it eloquently so that they could hear it, you know? And so he became an incredible salesman and an incredible empathetic person to do business with, because he taught me from the very beginning was find friends, make friends, and then do business with your friends. Because you don't want to do business with a bad guy anyway. So why wouldn't you want to just try to be friends with people? And I've really taken that into a lot of places. But he's an incredible speaker. And so I'm so excited that he's trying to step into the preaching side of things, because he does have a lot of really great things to say. And so he'll send me his sermons that he's working on, and I'll call him if you have a message that I want to, you know, try to explain or spit back to him, or I have an idea of a sermon that came to me a couple weeks ago. So I called him. I was like, can you do something with that? Because I can't put all the pieces together because I don't know it like you do, you know? And so it's just kind of fun. It's like a new thing that we can do on road trips. So
cool. Your family's still connected and running together, and you still, you know, talking to mom and dad, and you know, all of that. I mean, that's every day. Yeah, praise God. You know, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot in this day for some. I don't know why. I don't know what happens. Something happens along the way, but man, I hope that our generation, you know, can keep that going and you know, restore a lot of that and bring family back close together and keep them tightly knit. And it just pays dividends, you know, into kids, you know, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and for them to know their grandfather and their great-grandfather, know them closely. And I think it's so important. Have grandpa come and watch you play in the bar, you know, I think is powerful. It's just, these kind of things are so special. Did you and your siblings did you guys ever do band together, or were you always a band together?
Corey and I, my brother, we've done a lot of stuff together.
Okay.
We're still doing stuff together.
Are you really?
Picking at him. Poor guy. He's the musical director for my entire wedding.
Nice.
He just found out. So
I love it.
Sorry, bud. Yeah. So
he's only playing for a big rock band. He's like, sorry, you're doing my wedding.
Yeah. So I'm definitely play the part of the annoying little sister.
I love it.
But he was like oozing with talent. Like, it's crazy. Like, he's the guy that can walk in, build the studio, know how to plug everything in, lay down a track, play the drums, play the bass, play the guitar, play the piano, do everything, and then sing and write all the harmonies and then put a string arrangement on it and then mix it and print it and put it on Spotify. Wow. I'm like, what? Wow. Right. I'm like, I had like 3 ideas for a song and it's not done. And could you finish it? And he's like, no. So I kind of wear him out, but we've done a lot of bands together and he's very, he's very kind to me and puts up with me, but it's like, I've learned a lot from him and from his friends, I mean, Jeff is one of the best drummers that I've ever played with.
Yes.
I mean, like he's
another light in the world.
Oh
man.
my gosh. I love him. So
yeah.
Jeff and I used to hike all the time. And
really?
I was like the little sister that he never needed.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that he let me drive him crazy because we would hike and we would talk about life and our faith and the industry and musicians and we just, those were some of my favorite times because I was like, people like you exist. Like it's so nice to know that what I'm hoping to seek or the community that I'm trying to find, it does exist in LA because LA can feel very lonely.
Totally.
And it's been lonely at times. And I always tell people, like, give it 2 years. 6 months in, you're going to want to quit, take your toys and go home. If you can figure out a way to give it 2 years, find a community, find church. And, one of my biggest moments was going to, I think I went to Bel Air Prez. I was going through a breakup and I was just devastated. I was broken. I was working so hard. That really broke my heart. And I just was like, I was probably depressed at that point, just like a seasonal depression. And I wasn't answering the phone for anybody. I was just like really in it. And my dad called one night and I picked it up because it's my dad. And I said, hey, and he said, hey, I need you to get out of bed. And you need to go to a church. I don't care what church it is, but you need to go. And you can go in your pajamas. You can go with no makeup on. You can look crazy, but I need you to go. You're going. And just sit there and pray and just talk to God about whatever's going on. And then, and then just do that for me. Can you just do that for me? Like, that's just one thing I want you to do. And I said, oh, fine, whatever. And so I thought about it and I went to Bel Air Prez and I literally looked crazy. And I sat in the back and I prayed and I'm kind of like a private Christian in a way. Like I like to kind of just do my thing with God and I love that people are available to pray, but it's not something I normally migrate towards personally. And that night I thought, oh, sure, let me try. So I went up and I told this lady, I said, I'm just going through a breakup. I just feel lonely and I just feel just kind of worn down. And I just started crying and she started praying and I went home and it was good. It was a good prayer and it was nice, but I went home and I was still kind of sad. And I woke up Monday morning like I had never even been in a relationship. I mean, the way that it just washed it was just insane. And I was back. And my dad sent me a card and it literally, the front was this cute little girl and you open it and I still have it. And it says, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. I've got your back. Love, Dad. And it had like $200 in it or something.
I love it.
He's like, don't tell Mom, because like she gives him an allowance too.
Yeah.
And I still have it and I named my company Got Your Back.
I love that. Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of a little moment.
He's always been there. Yeah. And your dad's always been there. The Lord's always been there. And you got a great crew around you. But it's not, as you were saying, it's not easy to navigate LA and it's not easy to just plunge into this world and, try to win spiritually and try to win, financially, try to win, with your trade. Yeah. It just doesn't work here. You have to grind and you got to go through a lot of ups and downs. And, again, it's amazing to see what God has done on the other side, 20 years now. And, so your dad helped you come and step into vocal training. Yeah. Well, my parents both. I have to give my mom credit. I mean, my mom's like that strong, silent lady behind him. Sometimes I feel like I always do a little too much for dad. Sorry, Mom. Yeah. But no, it's both of them for sure. I mean, they
they dug into it, and then he was able to fly out with me to come and meet that trainer.
So you were 18, and mom and dad said you got the thumbs up.
Yeah.
You're going for it. And was it like test it for a year or two and see what happens and then come home, or what?
It was, you're moving.
Yeah.
Pack all your stuff.
Yeah.
Mom drove out with me, my Toyota Camry.
Wow.
And we drove out, and she set me up in my apartment with my sister. So my sister was living out here, and they found her an apartment. And they were kind of nervous about what was safe, what wasn't safe, because they had gone to Hollywood with my brother and were like, well, we won't be putting our daughters there. Right. So, you know, Corey and Justin, they can rough it and do the Hollywood thing and let us know how it goes. And it was rough. Right. So they put us in Marina Del Rey.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
It was really fancy. We felt real cute, real Californian.
Mom and dad, yeah.
Yes, Mom and Dad. So they sorted us, but they were like, we're going to come and stay in this guest room. Kelly, this is yours. And then when I wanted to move out, they said, okay, never mind. The guest room's not ours. Let's have Kara move in there. And then when we come out, we'll just kind of play musical couches or whatever.
Got it.
And so I moved in with my sister, and she finished raising me. I didn't even know how to do my laundry. It was really bad.
Shout out to sister.
Shout out to sis. So yeah, I lived with my sister for a while until she got engaged and moved to Albuquerque with her husband. And yeah, it was kind of a wild time. And the idea was, you're moving, we're giving this 110%. And because we want you to really focus, we're going to help you because you're not going to college. So we have some cash that we can just make sure that you don't drown. Right. But you need to be focused. Wow. Like, this isn't go out and party and get excited and be in a new town and freedom and stuff. It's like, the minute we hear things are going wrong, we're going to show up on your doorstep anyway. So you might as well just keep it together. Right. And then you lose this great opportunity. So like, stay on it. And so, for the most part, I did pretty good. You know, I slipped here and there, but yeah, that was the idea. And they were like, if you feel like you're flailing and you don't quite know where to go, because I moved in June, and Musicians Institute was starting their next like cycle in October. And so they said, if you're kind of flailing and you're not sure what you're supposed to do, let's put you in Musicians Institute. And it's more of like a technical institute. So it's not as long of a program. You can come and go as you please, but you can use that as networking. You can use that to get more schooling, all the things. That's what I ended up doing. Okay. So I went to MI, and so did my brother's best friend, Justin, who's a guitar player for Pink and also in the Boys House bands. Wow, okay. He's incredible. He's so good. But he's my brother's best friend, and he actually had gone to MI also. So he was there, I was there, Bowders was there.
Wow, what a crew.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah. I think that's how they all met. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to fact check that. But I'm pretty sure that they met somewhere in that world. But they were all fans of like a lot of the same kind of like shredders and stuff like that. So it was really, really cool because actually Jeff, my brother, co-wrote and produced Justin's solo guitar album. Okay. And Jeff played on most of them. Oh, wow. And so it was the three of them, and yeah, it was pretty fun.
This is early 20s? I mean, you guys this is mid-20s?
Yeah, that was probably, when they did that album, that was probably like years later, but this was early 20s. So
when you guys
18,
met at MI, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 18, 19, and then probably like 21 and 22 is when like I was probably cool enough to start being in the bands and stuff with them. Not cool enough, but maybe more ready for it. So yeah.
So do you remember your first, I mean, was this slow progression, or do you feel like there was like this defining moment when all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I think I got something. Like I've cracked the code. Like I'm standing on something.
Yeah, I think when I went to MI and I did like this solo show, like you have to play a solo show in the like the courtyard, and we covered one of Paul Simon's songs, Graceland, one of my favorite albums, and the song was "You Can Call Me Al," because I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. Like this will get people on their feet. It's not another love ballad that singers love to sing, but then my brother can really go on the bass because like who gets a bass player like Corey to be able to play their little show in the courtyard at MI, you know? Right. And so we did that, and just playing with the guys and just feeling the way it felt on stage. I was like, I can do this. Like I can hang with these guys, because I never wanted to be famous. Like that was kind of always a thing. Like I never wanted to be famous. I just wanted to be successful in music. And one of the things that I always said, and I don't know why, it was like, I want to be able to go to my kid's soccer game and people be excited to see my kid and not me, because I always thought that, God, that must be a bummer.
I get it.
Like for Blake and Gwen to go to one of the boys' games, and it's just like, gosh.
Yeah, they can't just hang.
No, they're like monkeys in a cage, it's like being at the zoo, and I just, and they don't, it doesn't bother them. I mean, they take it in stride, but that takes a strong person.
Totally.
Like I really admire celebrities for what they're able to kind of take out here, or what's implied.
Totally.
We have somebody like Blake, he's such a friendly person. You just feel like you know him, and he's a good guy, and so everybody thinks they're his best friend, and it's just, gosh, could you imagine 22,000 people at every show want to shake your hand, and it's a lot.
Or a line of 10 or 20 who want to get a selfie, and you just want to watch your kid's game.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Like, you got to keep smiling, and it's not easy.
Yeah, and then you're one, please not now, away from a tabloid of Blake was mean. You know, it's like, okay, but he's not that guy. But I just don't know. It just wasn't ever my thing. So
you felt like it was almost put in your heart, like, you know what, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah, it surprises a lot of people, I think. But I enjoy the successes. Like, I enjoy the little successes or the little moments where I get to do something cool. Like, we've got something coming up. They did a CMT Giants tribute to the band Alabama. And Blake actually asked me to come and sing with him.
Wow.
And we were just like side by side and getting to pay tribute to an epic band that I used to play in bars all the time.
Wow.
And now I'm standing next to Blake Shelton, and he requested that I just sing with him, and it's just like cool stuff like that. I really appreciate.
Kind of get the best of both worlds.
100%. It's like that 20 feet from stardom thing. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Wow.
So you get to see it, and then you can still go to the grocery store.
So it started then. So MI was really the launch. Like, you just like, okay, here we go. Like, this is happening. It's clicking. And then you start trying to break into LA, right? I mean, and is it just relationships? I mean, it's like as you're
auditions, it's relationships, it's networking, but it's also saying yes to everything. And I think that that's another place where the faith comes into play, because I've never felt prepared for anything that I said yes to. Like, even today, walking into here, I'm like, oh gosh, what have I done again?
Oh, man,
and you're thinking of excuses like, oh, I don't feel so good.
Right.
But it's one of the things that I do take pride in, because I say yes, and then I figure it out. And I know that God's involved in that, because a lot of things that I've said yes to were not supposed to work out. Now I'm in the industry, and I'm here, and I'm going out on all these auditions, and I get a call, and they say, we need a sub for Cher. And just for 3 weeks at her Caesar's Palace thing.
Wow.
We've been a band for 3 years, and we just kind of want you to come on in and do what she does, and then bail, when she comes back from her other gig. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is an open door. This is somebody that I admire.
Right.
I mean, what a huge career. Right. And this band, this is Paul Markovich. This is Sasha Kristoff. These are the guys that I've been watching, and this is a group that I've seen just excel. And I watched them. I mean, I remember when Cyndi Lauper opened for Cher at Wolf Trap in Virginia. I was 8th grade. My sister's best friend's dad won tickets. He and I were in a band together.
Wow.
He said, you want to come? I said, yeah. And I watched Cher, and it's this band. So these are the guys that I've been watching my whole life. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so Paul Markovich calls me, and I said, yes. And I get off the phone, and I panic because I have nodules again. I'm supposed to get surgery, and nobody knows this. And I'm finally getting that open door that I need, and if I can just walk in and knock this out. So I call my doctor, and I'm like, Dr. Nasiri, this is what's going on. I know I'm supposed to be in surgery. We've got to postpone the surgery, and you have to help me get through this. And he said, you have to do everything that I say. So he puts me on steroids, all the things, the Band-Aid, the Icy Hot, the everything, it's just like anything you can do to just cripple your way through. And I get through it.
Wow.
I'm standing next to Lisa Fischer. Lisa Fischer is one of the best singers on the planet, let alone best background singers, because her instincts are so spot on. She's like a chameleon, but she also knows so confidently who she is.
Wow.
On top of all of that, it's like she's just Superwoman. And I know God put her next to me for a reason, because she didn't do that gig for a long time either, because she normally is out with the Stones or, doing other huge like stadium things. So they call me and they say, Lisa Fisher's going to be next to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I'm panicking, but I'm also feeling relief because I'm like, wow, that means she can sing anything. So now I'm in a position where if she's willing, I might be able to get through this, you know? So like, that's like, yay, you know, check mark number one. So my voice coach, my doctor, we've got Lisa there. Everybody's on board. They think I can do it. And I get through it. And it goes great. I only have a 45-minute sound check to learn the whole gig. And Paul is on keys, the music director. And I've heard stories where he could be intimidating just because he's very good and he likes perfection.
Totally.
And so I'm in there and I accidentally sing one note that's his note in the bridge of a song. And at the end of the song, I'll bleep it but he goes, hey, stay off my note. And I was like,
right.
You heard that? And I was like, but I jumped. He's like, yeah, I heard. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay. So I go back to my room and I'm just still shedding the music, you know, just getting ready for this show. And then they said, Cher wants to meet you before the show. And I'm like, this is a big day for me. Right. I'm like, there's a lot of waves coming at me. So I get in there and she says, don't be nervous. We're not that good. And she just leveled it out.
Wow.
And she just humanized the whole thing. And just with one sentence, you know?
So cool.
And I was like, okay, thank you. So then I get on stage and we do it and the 3 weeks goes great. And Lisa was an angel because, I mean, she would jump up, she would jump down. She was just completely covering me. And it went really well. And then I was going in for my surgery and then I get a call. Joe Cocker needs a soprano.
Whoa.
In 6 weeks. And I said, okay, I'll call you back.
Wow.
I say, absolutely. Hang up the phone, panic, call my doctor, panic, call my dad, panic, call everybody, you know. What am I going to do now?
I mean,
now,
the legend.
You know, I mean, I literally was sitting in the back of my parents' car.
Man.
It's so crazy. I'm sitting in the back of my parents' car and I said, I'm going to sing with him one day.
Wow.
I'm like 8, you know, and it's Joe. It's like 1969 Woodstock vibes.
Totally.
And it's just like, when are those worlds going to collide? Like, you just, this kid saying stuff. Anyway, so I call all the doctors and everybody again, and they say, okay, if you do exactly what we do, but we got to do this surgery now.
Wow.
So they did it that week. And I was only singing vowels when I showed up in Italy for our rehearsals. I hadn't even sang consonants yet. Like, I wasn't even I hadn't graduated into words, and nobody knew. This is actually probably where everybody's going to find out. But, gotcha. No, it was crazy.
Stuff, yeah. Love it.
So, you know, I put my faith in God. And you know, whenever I pray for my doctors, I pray for God to cover my doctors because I know it's him. But I also, I'm so grateful that God can design people to be so fantastic at what they do, because you can put more faith into a situation when you feel that you can trust that person and you trust that they understand the brevity and they understand that this is your career and this is that crack that you needed, and now you got the door open and now you just have to step through because that gig's yours. It's not just a sub situation. It's just like, if I can do this, and I'm not even a natural soprano, let alone straight out of a surgery, you know. But I do believe that had I not had the surgery and I never got the nodules, I wouldn't have been able to sing the soprano because I would have just settled on not being able to get through that break in my voice, you know? So it opened a ton of doors doing it by the book and perfect. And I'm not sure how perfect I would have been if it wasn't on a timer, you know? And so voice coach on call the whole tour, doctors checking me every time I come home.
Wow.
And we toured the world for 2 years.
Whoa, 2 years. You started in Italy and went for 2 years. Joe Cocker. Incredible, man.
Isn't that amazing?
That is, I mean, that's a dream.
That's all God, because I was like,
did that happen? I mean, that's
it really was, because I was 26, 27, and it was just these legends. I mean, Mike Finnegan was on organ. I'm sure your dad knows Mike. I mean, he's just incredible. Like, what a musician and a voice. Like, he could just sing the blues and play. Oh my gosh. He was incredible. And so you're on stage with these older guys that are seasoned and know what they're doing, and these older ladies that are just showing you the ropes, and you know, the road's hard. And we played some of the most incredible venues, and
I bet.
You know, it's just like Joe.
Any memorable show like stick out? I mean, I know it might be you've done thousands of shows, but it's like, is there?
That one stuck out. Berlin.
Berlin?
Berlin. We played this outdoor amphitheater.
Okay.
And it's actually where Hitler used to address all of his generals.
Really?
And there's a tunnel. It's chilling. It's chilling. So there's a tunnel that you walk through from all like the dressing rooms are back here. You go here, and he would go through the tunnel, and then he would send his Mercedes with a decoy around just to sort if there were any snipers or anything. And then he would walk up on stage and address everybody. And when I learned that, I got chills and I didn't like it. But that was the show that my parents and my sister were flying in for. And they were coming in from the U.S. and they were driving all night to get there.
So cool.
And it was outside. It was in July. It was beautiful. And that country we grew to love, because we moved there in the 80s. And that was right, I think when the wall came down, or we have pieces of the wall. I'm not exactly sure when the timeline there, but my parents were coming and we walk out on the stage. And it was just kind of like this moment where you just realize there's always beauty in the ashes, because I mean that place just had seen some of the darkest days and some of the worst things, and then you get up there and sing this amazing discography of music for a crowd of people that are just so excited to be at a show, and the weather's perfect and the night is perfect and your parents are there, and that gave me chills for all the other reasons. So it was kind of a cool, just like 360 day. That one was really special for me because my family was there.
Yes.
But also just knowing the history and knowing that we were all there as a family when I was a baby, and then getting to really know the country as an adult,
That's got to be a wild moment for your family. Just sitting there, in Berlin, just like looking at the stage and just like, are you kidding me?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We all were.
Yeah. That's so cool.
So that was a special one.
So you did 2 years of that.
I did 2 years with Joe. Yeah.
And then did you come back to LA?
Came back to LA. What was after that? I feel like, okay. So that's when The Voice came in.
Really?
Yeah. So Paul Markovich.
Okay.
Paul Markovich.
Yep.
Joe Cocker was being managed by the same management company as Cher, who's the same manager for Sade, Tina Turner, may she rest in peace, and Pink. So same management umbrella, musical directors for Cher, and he's for Pink.
Okay.
And so Paul calls and he says, we're doing this show, The Voice. Can you come? And the first season I said, I don't think I can. I've already got all my visas for this next leg with Joe, and it just covers up that whole date. He says, okay. So I go out with Joe, and then I'm like thinking about it. And I come home from that run and I call Paul and I say, man, do you need singers for season 2? I think I made the wrong move. And I'm sorry. And is there any room for me? Is there anything I can do? Like, I'll be a PA, at this point. And he was like, call you back in 2 days. You're very stern. And I said, okay. So he calls me back and he says, okay, you're in. And I need you to find me a soprano. And I said, okay. And so I hang up the phone, I call, and I'm all excited. And then I need to tell Joe. And so I told his management and I told some people, and then I went up to him and I said, Joe, I wanted to tell you personally. I said, I've been offered to sing on that new TV show, The Voice, from Paul. And Joe says, well, you have to. I'm old. He said, you're young, I'm old. He said, I'm just going to have to start watching The Voice now. And I said, are you kidding me? Like, just, just blessings on blessings on blessings.
Wow.
Yeah, a really, really good guy. Really good guy. And at this point, he's completely sober. So I know he has a reputation and I know he has his stuff, but this guy woke up one morning and somebody told him a story. And this is at least what I heard, so this is hearsay, but he woke up one morning and somebody said, hey, remember this thing that you and your wife were talking about? And he couldn't remember because he'd been drinking too much. And he looked at his wife and he said, I don't ever want to not remember what I talked to you about. So I don't like the way that feels. And he quit.
Wow.
He didn't go to like a program. He didn't go to anything. He just quit.
Wow.
And so he was awesome. when I was on the road with him. I mean, there's tons of stories from the guys that have been with him for years, of course, you know, all those crazy stories. But the guy I saw was completely consistent, took walks every morning, took us to dinners. You know, we ate like queens all the way across that tour because that was kind of the way we bonded. You know, we just bonded over meals and stuff. And so he was amazing. So, and then I moved on to the Voice. So.
I've been watching The Voice. I was early adopter. I remember This Is The Voice. Yeah. Don't replay that, Dave. Kara, don't critique me. I love it. No, I mean, so fun, you know, chair turns and, you know, just the way the things evolved has been so fun, the steals and all the rest. But you've been there from the beginning, basically. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
And I was trying to absorb all of that information on the drive up this morning. I was just like, wait a minute. I said 22 seasons. You said 26 seasons.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've watched full seasons.
Yeah.
And I've watched how many songs and how many artists and how many, you know, no names that come through.
Yeah. But
like shatter the place, you know, with their voice.
So crazy.
Yeah.
This industry's wild.
And it's been so fun to watch. But there you are. If you don't know, all you got to do is look closely, and there's Kara standing right there.
I'm the blonde one that can't dance.
Yeah. But you've been right there the whole way.
Yeah.
What an adventure.
It's been
what an
incredible.
Opportunity.
Like literally adventure of a lifetime for me. Gig of a lifetime. Like hands down. Coolest opportunity. All the things I love. Music, harmony, hard work, crazy challenges, and then hope for hopefuls. You know, like being able to back somebody up is like my favorite thing to do. Making somebody feel like they can walk out on that stage and give the performance of their life, having confidence that the band and the singers behind them have got them. Like no matter what you do, no matter what comes out of your mouth, no matter where you decide to come in, we got you. We're ready. You know, we're going to make it look like it was always part of the plan. And that's something that is such a gift from all the studying and all the, you know, all the lessons and all the things that we've done through our life. Like I always tell people, I get paid to travel. I do not get paid to sing. Like that is my favorite part. Like it'll never get old. It'll never get old. I love putting choirs together. I love employing people. You know, I love being able to contract the vocals and stuff. Like it really is like the joy of my life. Yeah.
Well, it's like you guys are, I mean, I don't even know how to put it into words. This house band is not like, that's not even the right, like, you know, it doesn't encompass like what's happening. You're almost like this perfect software that just shows up and like just backs whoever is there. And again, you have people who are just learning to step on a stage for the first time ever.
Yep.
And then you have, because it's such a famous TV show, and the world of music wants to run their top artists like through these shows for marketing. So it's like they're going to push the greatest artists on the planet / biggest music hits and all this stuff are going to come through, and you're going to be standing right there also playing on that level.
Yes.
And then you're also, I mean, I couldn't play sing a single note. Can't even say it right now because I'm so nervous. But to stand there next to those musicians, I would just I'd be like, I don't belong here. You know, I'll be all the way in the back corner. Just like, I just want to watch, you know, like, because the musicianship is so high. When, you know, that repetition.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys as reps, you know, when a band goes on tour or when a singer-songwriter goes on tour and they get those reps in for a year or two, I mean, their skill level goes, you know, through the roof. But it's like you guys have been repping for decades.
It's been, I think for them, it's 13 or 14 years.
Unbelievable.
And for me with them, it's 12 or 13. But keep in mind, this is most of Cher's band that I watched when I was in 8th grade.
Unbelievable.
Like, these guys have been playing together since the 80s.
Yeah.
Like some of them, you know, it's really wild to think. Paul was in Whitesnake. You know, he was in Nelson. It's just like, it's wild.
It's like they can...
These guys have been around.
Like they can play better than they can walk. You know?
And it's funny because it's like, they're almost like savants. I mean, they're really good dudes, but it's just like, they just they're so focused, you know, and it's funny, like they can have a reputation of being very demanding, but I'm so appreciative because the way that place has prepared me for anything. I mean, like when I say anything, you know, it's like I can get yelled at.
Right.
I can get thrown out of a room. I can get added. I can get cut. You know, I've felt it all through my experience. And it's been amazing because when I go to another gig, I realize all the things that I've learned that I didn't quite realize I had learned, you know, like how to negotiate that contract, how to learn that song quickly, how to feel confident when you walk on stage, like how to know to prepare yourself when you need to memorize something very quickly, or, you know, what to have as backup just in case the artist turns around and says, I went blank, you know? And so it's just those little tools that I've learned from all different types of singers coming out. You know, some people I've learned how to sing with people that maybe can't quite find their tuning, you know, and it's just like all the different things. But I've also learned to appreciate that, you know, because sometimes perfection doesn't hit the same as somebody that's singing from their heart. You know, it's like, yes, this singer is technically perfect, but I can't feel a word they're saying.
Totally.
And then you have somebody that's maybe a little rough around the edges and my gosh, you're in tears because they really mean what they're saying, you know? So it's given you an appreciation for all of it, the whole compass, you know. It's been fantastic, and you know, I was just over there visiting yesterday. That's how much I love that gig. You know, I was in the area and I went and watched a couple blind auditions because I wanted to see how that part worked because I'm not there for blinds. They don't need background singers until the third round, and so I was just like, I kind of want to check it out. So I got to put on the ears of the Pro Tools guy and hear what's going on behind the scenes.
So cool.
Always learning, you know.
Is there any, are there any blinds or any like people who have come on the show that, you know, again, just green and they step in that stick out to you that just literally like leveled the place that you can never forget? Like this person was,
contestant wise, Jordan Smith.
Yes.
Jordan Smith.
Yes.
My gosh.
No.
Like what?
I remember this.
He's
sang
Chandelier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy that we both remember that because how many thousands of songs have been sung on that stage?
No.
Isn't that crazy?
I downloaded. I ripped the music off of YouTube because it was so. I'm not joking.
I know.
It was so good. And I would listen and it'd be like, how? Like, and like what you said, like his emotion and feeling pushing through that song and the effortless ability to just like sail, you know what I mean? Yeah. Was that a trip or what?
It was a trip because also nobody knew if it was a guy or a girl.
Right.
That was what was the beauty of our show was encompassed in one person.
He's kind of a Pat, right?
Yeah. It was a total Pat. And I love him. Jordan's a friend of mine, so I feel like I can get away with saying that because my God, he's absolutely insane. He's a Christian artist. If y'all haven't kept up with him, keep up with him because Jordan is impressive. Like in all ways.
So I mean, I'd love to hear from like in the back room, like what's going on? Like when he steps up there and he starts going, are all of you musicians just like looking around like, are you kidding me? Yeah,
I mean, I think jaws were dropped. But the thing is, the musicians are the only ones that have heard them before that blind audition because they get to come in for rehearsals with the band so that we can get the key. And, you know, I'm not there for that part, but so that the guys can get the key and get it dialed in and get the arrangements set and, you know, when you're going to come in and how long your walk is and all that kind of stuff. And so they're excited. They're like, okay, they're making bets like this one's going to be a 4-chair turn or, oh, I wonder if I hope this one gets one. I hope that they can hear what we hear. Because the other thing is we do get to see them. We get to see them and hear them. So that the coaches are completely blind to the entire situation. We get to know them all. And so then you're almost invested. Like yesterday, there was somebody that one of our music producers really wanted to get a chair turn and nobody turned. Oh. And she was bummed. Oh. You know, she's like, are you kidding me? Like, he's so good. And it was just like, I think you just get emotionally invested. But like when Jordan did it, it was like obvious. Right. It was obvious.
Isn't it? Wasn't he on Adam's team?
Yeah, on Adam's team. Yeah. And it was like, I think it's exciting. It's exciting for the success of the show too. when you have somebody like that come, you're like, oh my God, thank you for coming to our show. Like, you know, because it's just like, okay, you could have gone to X Factor, you could have gone to Idol, you could have gone to these other places. Like, thank you. It's almost like this little ping of job security of like, okay, this is going to be a great season. Like, what, you know? And Mark Burnett loved him so much that I think they started a label just for Jordan.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We got to play this clip. We got to play. Can we play a glimpse of this clip? Were you there in the room when he sang?
No, I wasn't for the blind audition.
So to remind me, when he sang Chandelier, this is one of his first songs he ever sang?
First
It was
song.
the very first song.
Very first song.
Oh my.
Party girls, don't get hurt, can't feel anything, when will I learn? I push it down, I push it down. Yeah. I'm the one for a good time call, phones blowing up, ringing my doorbell.
What a crew that year, huh?
So good.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink. Throw it back till I lose count. You're the sweet from the chandelier, from the chandelier.
He is unbelievable.
What? That's so much control.
Keep my glass full until morning light, 'cause I'm just holding on for tonight, on for tonight, on for tonight.
I love it. Gwen is all of us.
His family.
So good.
Oh gosh.
So good.
Is that crazy or what? Like this kid, like, how old is he?
He's younger than me. I know that much.
He had to be like,
Let
what,
me see
22,
how old he
25 or something there? I mean, that was...
So crazy.
He loves the Lord. He knows the Lord.
Knows the Lord, loves the Lord. You know, something that's so cool about singers that I've found, especially background singers and hiring choirs and things, there's always church somewhere. You know, whether they're still with it or they came from it or they're trying to find their way back to it or whatever. Harmony really starts in church, you know, and there's always that underlying faith. And so you get to get these people all together. And then, you know, something that I've been so excited to learn is like Christian church music versus gospel church music. And I've always been such a fan of gospel music, and just the way it makes me feel, and it just gets me so excited. And, you know, it's just like gospel music kind of came through like as like something that I never got to really immerse myself in because I didn't get to grow up in a black church. And I just was such a fan because, you know, church musicians, like if you have like somebody that's a gospel church musician, they're like the best to put on a gig because they can follow you wherever you're going to go. Because the preacher looks at them and says, play, and they play. You know, and it's just like, and then choir jumps in and they know how to sing out, and they're not trying to blend in. They're singing like from the joy deep within, you know. And it's just always been some of my favorite music, you know, because I grew up. That's why I loved the Gaither Homecoming Revival stuff because it was just like, wow, it's all these people in one room singing and they all know the songs and it's just so powerful. And so when you pull from both of those worlds and you're able to put it together on primetime television, like what? Like all of that has been preparing me because a lot of my friends grew up in gospel churches. And so they've taught me so much about, you know, like, that's why we do this, or this would be cool if we just bent that a little bit. And like, I've always been like frustrated with the pocket of some of like a more like secular Christian song, you know, like I want the pocket to be like deep and like I can feel it and really get to the lyric. And so I learned that from my friends. And so just the process of the last 14, 13, whatever, how many years it is, it's like, learning from so many different walks of life, but everybody having that same common denominator of we know harmony. And so when I hire choirs, I'm proud like that some of the people in the choir, they are readers. They read music and they need it on the sheet. And then some people are ear trained and you put a sheet in front of them, they're like, that's not going to help me. I already know it. Like I played it in the car and I listened to it once and I got it, you know, and then number system, like the Nashville numbers or whatever it is that they do. And we put them all together and they all kind of blend and lean towards each other. So the ear trained can bend the readers out of the structure of the page. The people on the page can make sure that the ear trained are covering the harmonies. And it's just kind of cool because I always tell people I hire people that are better than me because like that's the best way to get the best result, you know? And so to have a platform like The Voice and be able to call somebody knowing that you can confidently give them a check that's worth showing up for, you can learn from everybody and we can put this together. And then we're singing about Christ in primetime.
Wow.
You know, it's like, it's just really powerful.
You're saying you guys, you did Great Is Thy Faithfulness, huh?
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure it was Great Is Thy Faithfulness.
You sense that like a lot, you're basically making the point that a lot of the great musicians and artists and singers have grown up in the church and have that repetition and they've been trained one way or the other, but they can follow very, very well.
Yes.
And so you're saying a lot of the people who have shown up around you that are extremely talented, a lot of it has come straight from the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that interesting?
It took years. Took years to find each other.
And interesting though that could even be a source still to this day of future, you know. And we it would be great if all the amazing talented musicians of the church did reach into the world and use their gifts, talents, and abilities to bring glory to Jesus.
Absolutely.
I mean, man, what an impact. Because when someone like yourself, you know, comes and stands next to those guys and they're like, gosh, she's an incredible musician. But then at the same time is like, but we really like her as a person, you know, and you're like, and you get to show that. They look at a Jordan Smith, they're like, this dude is insane. And then they're like, and he's kind of a really kind person, you know, like what's going on? You know what I mean? Like there's
Absolutely.
those, like that's the beauty of, they get to see the craft, they see the creative, which comes from the creator and the display of his glory and his work in a person. And it moves people, man. It'll move them to tears. It'll move them and they'll just be sitting there like, what just happened? And like, why do I feel this way? And then you get to love on them and serve them and pray for them, whatever they may be working through or going through.
Yeah.
So you've done The Voice for, you said 26 seasons and this is 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that, a connection with Blake Shelton happens.
Yes. Blake, that was fun. Always loved Blake on the show. I mean, he's just what you expect from him. You know, he's the same guy on and off screen, and actually off screen, I'd argue he's nicer. You know, and there was a performance. So I get up. We're doing a pre-tape with Adam and like this reggae group. And so it's like 4:15, I'm rushing and I'm getting to the stage and they've got me in like these thigh highs and I'm just like so uncomfortable. And now I got to look cool to a reggae song. And I'm the blonde girl that can't dance on the show. And so I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. And so I'm up there and I'm bopping around and, you know, I've got people that can dance flanking either side of me. And I'm like, just go the same way they're going and just get through this. And so I get off, we do it, get off the stage, I go up to the bandstand, and I'm just sitting there getting ready for the live show because we're going to go live at 5s. And Blake gets up and walks all the way across from his chair. He's over here, and I'm way over here. So he walks all the way across the stage. There's a whole audience in there. And everybody's screaming his name or whatever, and he's beelining for me, and I'm like, is this man really walking all the way over here to make fun of what just happened? Like, is that really what he's about to do? Like, do you have to do it on stage? And so he comes over, and I said, hey, Blake, how can I help you? And he's like, hey, what are you doing early next year? And I was like, well, I don't know. I hope you're about to tell me, you know, like what are we talking about? And he said, well, I was thinking maybe if you wanted to come on tour with me, if that's something that you were interested in. And I said, Blake, I've been praying for that. I literally have, like, and I really have, like, because I was just like, man, I like that guy. I like country music. I like his vibe. Seems like a good group. And And he's like, well, now you're laying it on a little thick, you know? And he's like, don't make me, you know, he's giving me a hard time or whatever. But yeah, he just hired me on stage.
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? And I've been with him ever since.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, to be on a stage like that and to be touring with a band like that and with a frontman like that too, right? I mean, kind of couldn't ask for a better setup.
Nope.
Pretty amazing.
No, it was I mean, yeah. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world.
And he's even pushed you out front like quite a few times, right? You've even got the front singer spot like many times when you're on tour, when you're just going, and all of a sudden you find yourself like, here I am in the middle of it all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, and I remember the day that they asked me to come into the studio to record God's Country. And it was the first time they'd asked me to come in. And I was really excited because a lot of times you're either a part of the touring band or you work under that producer's hired musicians. You know, so it's kind of two different worlds. And so I was really honored that Scott and Blake had asked me to come in. And so I was pretty nervous, and they asked me to sing some harmonies, and they said, can you just do like some waily, gospel-y kind of backgrounds at the end? So I said, yeah, you know, and so I'm going, and they said, that's like a little too Christina Aguilera-y. Let's move over here. And then, okay, that's a little too like Kelly Clarkson-y. Let's move over here. So I'm like pulling out every trick and trade and anything I have. And I'm sweating, you know, I mean, I am just singing all the notes, all the things, trying to find what they want. Because Scott is fantastic. Like, this is a producer you want to impress. So I'm wearing myself out, but I'm going. And then they're like, okay, we think we got it. And then I came out, and Scott gave me some really nice compliments. And they ended up putting me on a lot of the ad-lib stuff at the end. So like any of the wailing girl stuff you hear. But you're singing about God's country, and it's like this girl from a farm that's faith-based, and it ended up being to that date it was Blake's biggest single on Spotify.
Wow,
it went huge.
Kara, incredible, really, man. Cool. That's so cool.
He said, "You're my good luck charm." I said, "Okay, don't forget." I remember little homie.
Oh, I love it.
No, he's just the best.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. So that was Grammy nominated. And so that put us on the Grammys, and then they did the Blake and Gwen duet. And that whole like story, I think, is really special too. Just their bond and their relationship, and the way that they've both just come back so focused on Christ at the epicenter. I mean, like they literally just went to the Vatican last month just to, you know, she wants her boys around that, and Blake supports her in that. And yeah.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, it's really cool.
Well, to be able to stand, you know, nearby and be praying for and encouraging and just be a light, you know, and that's the thing, you know, it's amazing what the Lord can do. And I'm just standing back, like just listening to all this stuff, Karen. I mean, you lived it, but I'm like, look what the Lord has done, you know? Like, I mean, wow.
I know. I'm blown away.
I mean, you've kind of lived like maybe like 3 or 4 lives, you know, like with all these cool opportunities. And I
tell my fiance I'm a high mileage vehicle. Yeah. I'm like, I think I got it all in, babe.
That's great. You got your 500,000 miles in.
I think we're good.
But I think you're a diesel motor, so you might go 1,000,000 miles.
Yeah, we're gonna push it,
you're
y'all.
Gonna go 1,000,000 miles.
Yeah.
You're just getting started. Really?
I really am.
That's
feel
so
like
crazy.
I know. Now we're gonna get married and start that part.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's been an incredible career. I'm really grateful, and I'm still, you know, trying new stuff. So,
you know, like as I reflect back kind of on the conversation, like there's a couple things that really stuck out that you said. You know, you had said, just jump and you'll land on both feet. And you said, I just always said yes to everything. And then, you know, you basically just taking risks, just going for it, and then just trusting that God is going to like help you through and you're going to figure it out.
Absolutely.
I love that, man, because it is scary to take a risk, but it is amazing how much you can't win and you can't succeed until you take risks and attempt to fail. And then all of a sudden, like God shows up and cool things happen. The other thing that the other thing you said earlier is you talked about, I don't know, I think you said working with people who are your friends or that you like.
Yep.
And I wonder if that's like part of the secret potion to your whole equation is that, you know, there are a lot of talented people on the planet, but like you can be a kind person and a sweet person to people and be likable. And they're just like, you know, I kind of like you. And there's a bunch of girls over here who can sing, but I just like you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like you and your likability, I think, enhances the vocal, because it's like, I think when people see vocals, they're feeling personality as well. They're feeling soul, right? They're feeling emotion. And I feel like a lot of that pours through vocals as well. And so it's like all of that connection coming together. And I don't know, I'm stealing gold from you a little bit at a time, because I'm just like, this LA code to crack is very, very difficult. I mean, like 95, 98, 99% just will not get in. It won't happen.
Yeah.
And so what you've been able to do is just a miracle. It's unbelievable. And obviously not without incredible hard work and dedication, but it's like you keep taking the risks, you keep showing up, you keep loving and serving people, you keep being generous and kind, and you keep taking risks, and God shows up and like carries you through. And so it's like,
well, and listening to God when he talks, you know, when you hear something, I was starting to get completely overwhelmed. And it was like 2017, and I had all the gigs, and I had a fiance, and I just knew that I wasn't ready yet. Something just kept pushing, and we were like 6 months away from the wedding, and I called my parents, and it's like, I'm kind of thinking about this, and they're like, well, you need to do what you think, you know, like we have you. Don't worry about anything that's gone towards finances or anything like that. They're like, you need to do what's right for you. And so I prayed on it. And I remember I was like really hungry. I had just gotten back from a gig. I'm always hungry. And I was driving around. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to eat. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I just was driving in circles. And it's just one of those days where I couldn't decide what way was up. You know, I just was a mess. And I pulled over, and it ended up being right in front of my house at the time. And I had a Hillsong song. Like I just had my Spotify was just on shuffle, like all my songs. So anything could have come on. And then randomly a Hillsong song came on. I don't remember which one it was. And I thought I could use some Christian music, you know, spiritual music right now. And so I just pulled over and I listened to it. And then right in the middle of the song, they went into, what can wash away my sins? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. You know, what can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. And I just started weeping. I could cry now just thinking about it. And I just know in that moment, God was just like, I have so much more for you. Why are you settling? You know, why are you trying to rush to the altar, rush to what I have for you? I'm taking my time. Like, I'm giving you all these cool opportunities. Why are you trying to rush this side of your life? Like the family and the kids and stuff. You're not ready yet. It's just not your time, and your guy's not ready. And this isn't your guy, you know? And it was just one of those things. And he didn't do anything wrong.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, we both had our faults. We were great people, not great together. Sure. You know, it was one of those situations. And I walked away from that relationship, and everybody thought there was somebody else. Like everybody wanted it to be dramatic, and they wanted it to be this whole thing, and it just wasn't. And I was single for 2 years, and I just decided I was just gonna it sounded cheesy, and it may still sound cheesy, but I just decided I was gonna date God. I was like, any energy that I've been trying to put into finding my person, I'm gonna put into my faith, and I'm just gonna pause for a second and get it back together, because this town, this industry, this everything is just like, I don't even know what way's up right now, and I just need a reset. And I did. And so he continues to show up for me. And two years almost to the day later, I met my guy. You know, so I wasn't ready.
Now you are.
Yeah. So on our 5-year anniversary from our first date, we will get married.
Wow.
And our dads are marrying us, and you know, it's cool.
Incredible.
So that hasn't all been smooth sailing.
Yes. Yeah. No doubt. Many ups and downs in this journey, and not easy to not easy to work through, right? You have to fall on the Lord and cling to Him over and over. And I mean, that's the beauty of the story, though, is like, you know, really going through the hardship, really going through the difficulty. And it's fun to celebrate. It's fun to see everything, you know, turn out on the other side. And it's not easy. There could be people listening who are in that, you know, down season or whatever. And there are others who are listening who are in a great season, you know. Absolutely. But it's like, regardless, the Lord is always going to be there. He's going to sustain. He's going to carry us through.
Yep.
And it's awesome that you're in a great season right now.
Yeah, I'm happy now.
You're in a fun season right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always been this, like, the way I could phrase it to people is just like, he has always relentlessly pursued me. I mean, relentlessly. Like, I'll run away and he's right there. And I'll run away again. Then he shows up again. And it's just in the weirdest places. You know, it'll be at a hotel bar. It'll be at a gig. It'll be on a plane. And just like some of the people that I've met and just some of the fellowship that I've had. Like, there was a guy covered in tattoos on a plane. And he's in a metal band. And he's sitting next to me on the plane. And we ended up talking about Jesus the whole time.
Wow.
He's a total believer.
Wow.
And he's got crazy tattoos. Like, I mean, on his face, everything, you know. I was like, oh boy, it's going to be a fun one.
Wow.
And we had the best time. We stay in touch still. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. You just never know where he's going to show up.
Praise God, he does.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So where can people find you in the near future? What's, I mean, obviously you're going to be married, so.
Yeah. New last name. That'll be fun.
I'll be having fun. And, but where can people find you?
They can find me on my Instagram.
Okay.
That's the one that I keep up with the most.
Yeah.
It's Kara Britz, KaraBritz. And it's just at Kara Britz.
And they can see you on The Voice if they want to.
Yeah, they can see me on The Voice. We're coming into season 26.
And they can see you on stage with Blake.
And they can definitely see me with Blake. I will be with Blake in Canada soon. No, we're doing all the things. So yeah, thank you.
Well, Kara, thanks for coming on the show. You're a light. You're a light in this dark world. And keep shining, keep pushing. Keep pouring in, keep taking risks. You know, I think God's going to keep meeting you, and I think the best is yet to come for sure.
Thank you for your church, Josh. I have to thank you. It was something that I needed to find. I'm so grateful for Bowders to bring me there.
Yes.
It's a breath of life in a town that can be really lonely. So if you are lonely and you just want a place where you're not going to be judged, Legacy is definitely the place.
Yeah.
I recommend.
The door's always open.
Yeah, it really is, and they mean it.
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah,
thanks for
thank
coming
you.
on the show.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show today. We really appreciate you. And it would mean the world to us if you would like or subscribe and you would write an honest review for us. It's one of the fastest ways to get the word out for us and to share it with others. And so if you don't like texting for a review, you can always voice to text. That's a fast way to write one and really help us rate the show and get it out to the world. Thank you so much for listening again. We hope it continues to bless you and encourage you each and every week. And of course, leave you stoked.